Do you have to sell your house if you get divorced? Hi, I'm Alycia Kinchloe, a family law attorney based out of the Philadelphia area and the owner of Kinchloe Law. One of the questions I get when people are thinking about going through a divorce or someone has filed for divorce is what happens to the marital residence? As always, I'm going to remind you that you need to speak with an attorney licensed in your state about the facts specific to your case. When a person decides to get divorced, or when a couple decides to get divorced, and there is a marital residence, or perhaps even other properties, sometimes there's a belief that the house has to be sold and the asset divided between the two parties. But that isn't always the case. When there is marital property, the court will make a distribution of the assets. And it's not just the house, it's going to be whatever else is determined to be a marital asset. So that could be bank accounts, that could be vehicles, that can also be retirement or pension funds. So there are a lot of things that can go into the total marital estate. And what the court can do is decide how to split those assets between the two parties. Now, that can be done a number of ways. That can be done by liquidating those assets and then splitting it up by cash. But often what happens is that there can be an amount determined and then the assets can be divided based on that amount. So, for example, if there is a marital residence with equity in it of $50,000, and then there's a bank account with $50,000 in it, and perhaps one person wants to stay in the house, the court can say, well, look, it's a wash. You stay in the house, you get the bank account, and no one has to do anything. You don't have to incur additional expenses with selling the house, perhaps taking out a loss. We leave everything as it is. Now, again, that's an oversimplified version of what could happen, but it is an example of how things can kind of be attributed between the parties without actually liquidating the asset itself. A couple of other things that can happen is that one person can buy out the other spouse. So again, giving that example where there's perhaps $50,000 worth of equity in the house, the other person can buy out the other party's their share of that house. So let's say it is an equal split and it's 50-50, and so each person is entitled to $25,000. The person who's going to remain in the home could refinance the house and give that person $25,000. They could also get the money from somewhere else. If they wanted to take out a personal loan and pay them directly with that, that's also a possibility. And when it comes to refinancing a house, in order to do those things, there could be a lot of things that go into consideration. Whether the person who remains in the house is actually capable of doing it. That's something that we run into, given that we're in a situation where a lot of people are losing their homes, where lenders have tightened their requirements for refinancing or allowing people to purchase homes. And sometimes what a master will do, and the master is a person who decides how the assets can be split, they may actually decide to extend the amount of time for a person to refinance a property. So that is a second option. A third option could be to actually sell the house, to force the sale of the house, and the parties will split the money and they will go their separate ways. So again, you have options, and there could be other creative ways for figuring out how to divide an asset or how to compensate someone for their share of equity in a home when there is a marital residence or other property that needs to be split between the parties. So you don't have to assume that automatically that's what has to happen, that you're going to lose your house. But it does become more difficult if there is a situation where neither party wants to remain in the house, and then the master will have to make that decision as well. So I hope this sheds some light on what could happen to the marital residence in a divorce. Again, you always want to speak with an attorney about the facts specific to your case. Make sure you hit the subscription button and the little notification bell so that each time we drop a new video, you get a little notification and you don't miss one of our videos on custody, divorce, or support. All right, until next time, take care.